An employee at a U.S. Navy base is fighting for his life after a shark attack in the Florida Panhandle.
When most people picture the most dangerous fish in America, they picture a shark. The fin, the teeth, the music from the movie, but sharks barely crack the top 5. The fish that sends the most Americans to the hospital every year isn't a predator at all. You've caught it. You've cleaned it. You've probably eaten it for dinner. We're counting down 20 of the most dangerous fish in the United States, and the one at the top is hiding in a pond near you right now. 20. Oyster toadfish. In the shallow bays and rocky bottoms of the Atlantic coast lives a fish so ugly it's almost hard to look at. The oyster toadfish. Flat, warty, mud-colored, with a wide mouth and bulging eyes, it spends its life half buried, waiting for something to swim past. It's not fast, and it's not big. Most are under a foot long, but it comes with 2 surprises. The first is its bite. Those jaws are strong enough to crush oyster shells, and a careless angler who grabs one can lose a chunk of finger. The second is hidden in its back. The toadfish carries sharp dorsal spines, and at the base of those spines sit venom glands. A jab brings swelling and a deep throbbing ache that can last for hours. It won't kill you, and it would much rather be left alone, croaking out the strange foghorn grunt that gives it its name. But it's a fitting place to start, because it's the first proof of a pattern you'll see again and again. In the water, the danger is rarely the thing that looks dangerous. The oyster toadfish takes number 20. 19. Pacific electric ray. Stay along the coast but move into deeper water, where the next fish hides a weapon you can't see coming. Off the Pacific coast, gliding over sandy bottoms and kelp beds, swims a fish that fights with electricity. The Pacific electric ray, it's a flat, round, slate-gray creature, slow and almost lazy in the way it moves, and the swimmers who don't know better sometimes drift right up to it. That's a mistake. Built into its body are special organs that store and release an electric charge, a jolt of around 45 volts, strong enough to knock a grown adult flat. The ray uses it to stun the fish it eats, but it will fire that same charge at anything it sees as a threat. And the real danger is quieter than the shock itself. A diver who takes a full jolt 30 feet down can be stunned, disoriented, and unable to move for a few seconds. And a few seconds is all it takes to lose your bearings, drop your regulator, or fail to reach the surface. The ray doesn't have to hurt you, it just has to catch you off guard at the wrong depth. The Pacific electric ray takes number 19. 18. Northern stargazer. Back on the Atlantic side, buried in the sand with only its eyes showing, waits one of the strangest fish in American water, the northern stargazer. Its eyes sit right on top of its flat head, staring straight up, which is how it got its name. It digs itself into the seafloor until it vanishes completely, then waits for a meal to pass overhead. And this fish doesn't pick one weapon, it carries 2. Behind its gills sit a pair of venomous spines that can drive a hot, stabbing pain into anyone who presses down on the hidden shape below. And just behind its eyes are special organs that deliver an electric shock, venom and electricity in the same buried ambush. For a swimmer wading through shallow water, that's a nightmare combination, because you never see it. There's no fin, no warning, just sand, until you put your foot down in the wrong spot. Injuries are rare, only because so few of us ever step exactly where it's hiding. But there are few fish in the country better built to ruin your day. The northern stargazer takes number 18. 17. Sea lamprey. From a fish that hides in the sand, we go to one with a face out of a horror film, and a question a lot of swimmers ask. The sea lamprey looks like something that shouldn't exist. It has no jaws. Instead, it has a round sucker of a mouth lined with ring after ring of curved teeth and a rasping tongue in the center. It latches onto another fish, grinds a hole through the skin, and feeds on the blood and fluids inside, sometimes for weeks. In the Great Lakes, where it arrived as an invader, it nearly wiped out the lake trout, draining one fish after another until whole fisheries collapsed. So the question everyone asks, staring at that mouth, is simple. Will it do that to a person? The honest answer is that it almost never does. A lamprey wants cold blood and slow fish, not a warm-blooded human, and confirmed cases of one latching onto a swimmer are extremely rare. but rare is not never. There are documented photos of lampreys attached to people who lingered too long in infested water, and the bite leaves a raw, circular wound. It's a monster built for other fish, and a reminder that the ugliest thing in the lake isn't always the one you should fear. The sea lamprey takes number 17. 16. Alligator gar. Now we leave the coast for the rivers of the south, where a true living fossil still swims, and where the legend is far scarier than the fish. In the slow rivers and bayous of the southern states swims a fish that has barely changed in 100 million years. The alligator gar. It can grow past 8 feet long and weigh over 200 pounds, its body wrapped in hard, diamond-shaped armor, its long snout lined with 2 rows of needle teeth. It looks exactly like what its name promises, half fish, half alligator, and for generations people have feared it as a man-eater that waits in the shallows to drag swimmers under. That legend is almost entirely false. There has never been a confirmed killing of a person by a wild alligator gar. They're ambush hunters, but their prey is other fish, and they have no interest in something as big as a human. The real danger comes from us handling them, and from one strange detail. Their eggs are toxic. Eat the roe of an alligator gar and you can make yourself violently sick. So the giant armored monster of the southern rivers turns out to be one of the gentlest fish here, as long as you don't try to eat the wrong part. The alligator gar takes number 16. 15. Snakehead. Stay in fresh water, because the next fish is an invader that refuses to stay in the water at all. It earned a nickname that stuck, the Frankenfish. The northern snakehead is an invasive predator with a long body, a blunt head, and a mouth full of small, sharp teeth, and it has been turning up in American rivers and ponds where it was never meant to be. What makes it unsettling isn't just the teeth. The snakehead can breathe air. It has a special organ that lets it gulp oxygen straight from the surface, which means it can survive out of water for a day or more and squirm its way across wet ground to reach a new pond when the old one dries up. A fish that can leave the water and find more water is a fish that's almost impossible to contain. They're aggressive too, especially when guarding their young. A snakehead protecting a cloud of fry will charge and bite anything that comes near, including a swimmer's hand or foot. They're not deadly to people, but they're a predator we accidentally set loose, eating their way through native fish wherever they spread. The snakehead takes number 15. 14. Northern pike and muskellunge. From an invader to 2 native ambush hunters that put more anglers in the emergency room than any shark. In the cold lakes of the northern states swim 2 of the most efficient predators in fresh water, the northern pike and its bigger cousin, the muskellunge. Both are long, lean, and built like torpedoes, and both have a mouth that looks like a bear trap. Hundreds of teeth angled backward, sharp enough to slice clean through fishing line and skin. They hunt by ambush, holding dead still in the weeds, and then exploding forward in a blur to grab whatever passes. For people, the danger isn't being hunted. It's the handling. Every season, anglers who land one and reach in to free the hook come away with deep, ragged cuts across their hands and fingers. A careless grip on a thrashing pike can open you up to the bone. There are even rare reports of large pikes striking at the bare feet and hands of swimmers, mistaking a pale flash of skin for prey. The musky is so hard to land that it's called the fish of 10,000 casts. But the ones who do catch it learn fast to respect the teeth. The pike and musky take number 14. 13. Piranha. Now for a fish most people think only lives thousands of miles away, except it's already turning up in American lakes. Say the word piranha, and people picture a feeding frenzy. A cow stripped to bone in seconds in some far-off jungle river. That image is mostly Hollywood. Most piranha species are nervous scavengers that eat fish, insects, and scraps, and the bone-stripping swarm is the exception, not the rule. But the part most people don't know is this. Piranhas are already being pulled out of American waters. Pet owners who buy them and then don't want them have dumped piranhas into lakes and rivers across the country, and every year a few turn up on the end of someone's line, in Texas, in Florida, even in northern states. Most can't survive a cold winter, so they don't form lasting populations. But a living piranha in a warm pond in the middle of summer is perfectly capable of taking a bite, and those teeth are no myth. A single bite can shear off a fingertip. The frenzy may be fiction. The fish in your local lake is not. The piranha takes number 13. 12. Bluefish. Back to the Atlantic, where a fish that really does travel in hungry packs comes right up onto the beach. If you want a true feeding frenzy, you don't need the Amazon. You need the Atlantic coast in summer. The bluefish travels in enormous schools, and when those schools find a ball of bait near shore, they tear into it in a churning, bloody frenzy that fishermen call a blitz. They're sleek and fast, with a jaw full of small, razor-edged teeth, and they've earned the nickname the marine piranha. The trouble for people is that a blitz doesn't always stop at the bait. When bluefish are in a frenzy in shallow water, they'll bite anything that moves, and over the years, they have bitten the legs, feet, and hands of swimmers and surfers who happen to be standing in the wrong patch of surf at the wrong moment. The wounds are deep and clean, the kind that need stitches. A single bluefish is no threat at all. A few hundred of them in a feeding rage in waist-deep water is a very different thing. The bluefish takes number 12. 11. Goliath grouper. Stay off the Florida coast, but trade the school of small fish for a single giant that can almost swallow you whole. Off the reefs and wrecks of Florida lurks a fish the size of a refrigerator. The Atlantic Goliath grouper can reach 8 feet long and weigh up to 800 pounds, and it doesn't so much bite its prey as inhale it. It opens that enormous mouth, and the sudden rush of water sucks in whatever's in front of it in a single explosive gulp. A fish, a lobster, sometimes prey as big as a person's arm. They're curious, territorial, and completely unafraid of humans. Divers describe a Goliath grouper shadowing them, opening its mouth in warning, even charging and slamming into them with a force that can crack ribs. They're known for ambushing spearfishers, racing in to steal a speared fish straight off the line and getting close enough that a hand or arm could end up inside that mouth. There's no record of one swallowing a diver. They simply can't get a whole person down. But floating face to face with a fish that big and that fearless is enough to make even seasoned divers back away slowly. The Goliath grouper takes number 11. 10. Moray eel. Reach into the wrong hole on that same reef, and the next fish won't let go. Hidden in the cracks and crevices of reefs all along the warm U.S. coast is a fish that looks more like a snake, the Moray eel. It spends the day wedged into a hole with only its head sticking out, mouth opening and closing, showing rows of thin, backward curving teeth. Most bites happen for one simple reason. A diver reaches into a dark crevice, and the eel, feeling cornered, clamps down. And once a moray bites, it does not let go easily. Those hooked teeth point inward, so the harder you pull, the deeper they dig. Worse, the moray has a second set of jaws hidden in its throat that lunge forward to drag prey down, a detail that inspired more than one movie monster. A serious bite tears muscle and tendon, and the eel's mouth is full of bacteria, so even a clean-looking wound can turn into a vicious infection. It's not aggressive, it's just defensive and unforgiving. Keep your hands out of dark holes, and a moray will never touch you. Reach in blind, and you'll learn why divers fear them. The moray eel takes number 10. 9. Barracuda. Out in the open water above that reef hunts a fish with two completely different ways to hurt you. The great barracuda is built for speed and violence. It's long and silver, with an underbite full of dagger-like teeth, and it can rocket through the water in short bursts faster than almost anything else on the reef. It hunts by sight, and that's where the first danger comes in. A barracuda is drawn to anything shiny and flashing because to its eye that flash looks like the scales of a fleeing fish, which means a watch, a ring, or a bright dangling earring on a swimmer can trigger a lightning-fast slashing strike before the fish even realizes its mistake. Those bites are rare, but they're severe, slicing deep in a single pass. The second danger is slower and stranger. Barracuda sit high on the reef food chain, and their flesh can build up a natural poison called ciguatera. Eat a large barracuda, and weeks later, you can suffer a brutal sickness, burning skin, hot and cold sensations flipped backward, weakness that lingers for months. One fish, two ways to land you in the hospital. Its teeth today, or its meat later. The barracuda takes number 9. 8. Scorpionfish. Now we go back to the bottom to a fish you'll never spot until it's too late. Some fish hide, the scorpionfish disappears. Its mottled, lumpy body and frilled skin match the rock and coral around it so perfectly that it becomes invisible, sitting motionless on the bottom while divers and waders pass within inches. And that camouflage is exactly what makes it so dangerous. Running along its back is a row of sharp spines, each one loaded with venom. Because you can't see the fish, you don't avoid it. You put a hand down on a rock or a bare foot and drive those spines straight into your skin. The pain is immediate and overwhelming, often described as the worst the victim has ever felt, radiating up the whole limb, with swelling that can last for days. In the warm waters off Florida, California, and Hawaii, scorpionfish and their relatives send swimmers and fishermen to the hospital every year. It almost never kills, but a sting from a fish you never even saw is a special kind of fear. The scorpionfish takes number 8. 7. Lionfish. Its cousin uses the same weapon, but instead of hiding, this one is impossible to miss, and it's taking over. The lionfish is the opposite of camouflage. It's stunning, bold red and white stripes, long flowing fins, a creature so beautiful that people once kept it in home aquariums. That beauty hides a warning. Fanning out from its body are up to 18 venomous spines, and a sting from one delivers searing pain, swelling, sweating, and sometimes trouble breathing. Here's the bigger problem. The lionfish doesn't belong in American waters at all. Released from aquariums decades ago, it has exploded across the Atlantic, the Gulf, and the Caribbean with no natural predators to stop it, breeding so fast that it now blankets reefs in numbers that would have been unthinkable a generation ago. More lionfish means more contact and more stings for divers, for fishermen, for anyone cleaning one to eat. It's gorgeous, it's invasive, and it's armed. And unlike most fish here, you'll be seeing a lot more of it, not less. The lionfish takes number 7. 6. Tiger shark. And now we reach the fish you came here for, the sharks. We start with the ocean's garbage disposal. The tiger shark is the second most dangerous shark in the world, and it gets there by eating absolutely anything. Fish, turtles, seabirds, seals, and when divers cut one open, license plates, tires, and trash. That's how it earned its nickname. It cruises the warm waters off Hawaii, Florida, and the Gulf, exactly where people swim and surf, and it has no fear of shallow water. A big one grows past 16 feet, with serrated teeth strong enough to crack a sea turtle's shell like an egg. Hawaii sees more tiger shark encounters than almost anywhere in the country, and many of the island's worst attacks trace back to this one fish. What makes it especially dangerous is its curiosity. A great white often bites once and leaves, realizing its mistake. A tiger shark is far more likely to keep investigating and to keep going. Big, bold, and indiscriminate, the tiger shark takes number 6. 5. Great white shark. Stay in the open ocean for the most famous fish on Earth. No fish on the planet carries a heavier reputation than the great white. It's the one every swimmer pictures, the shape from the movie posters and the nightmares. They patrol both coasts, with Cape Cod and Central California among the best-known hotspots, and a big one reaches 20 feet and weighs more than 2 tons. They kill more people in U.S. waters than any other shark. And yet, attacks are still incredibly rare. Surfers are the most common victims because from below, a person lying on a board looks an awful lot like a seal, and a great white hunting seal strikes first and identifies later. Along the Atlantic, seal numbers have recovered in recent years, and the great whites have followed them closer to shore, which is why some beaches now see more sharks than they have in living memory. The truth most people miss is that great whites aren't mindless killers. Nearly every attack is a case of mistaken identity. But when a fish that big makes a mistake, the result can be deadly. The great white takes number 5. 4. Bull shark. But ask the experts which shark is truly the most dangerous, and most of them don't name the great white. They name the next one, and it can find you somewhere no shark is supposed to be. Many shark scientists believe the bull shark is the single most dangerous shark alive, and the reason is where it's willing to go. Almost every shark needs salt water to survive. The bull shark does not. It can move straight out of the ocean and up a river into pure fresh water, and it has been found hundreds of miles inland in places no one expects a shark to be. Along the east and Gulf coasts, it patrols shallow bays, river mouths, and harbors, the warm, murky, churned-up water where people wade and swim and can't see their own feet. It's aggressive, territorial, and quick to bite, and it tends to hunt in exactly the conditions where a person can't see it coming. Plenty of attacks blamed on other sharks were almost certainly bull sharks because they're so hard to identify after the fact. Some of the very attacks that inspired the most famous shark story ever told are believed to have been a bull shark that swam upriver into fresh water. This is the shark most people expect to crown the most dangerous fish in America. It isn't. The bull shark takes number 4. 3. Pufferfish. After the sharks, the rest of the countdown belongs to 3 fish that don't look dangerous at all. The first one might be the most lethal fish in the country, and it's also one of the cutest. The pufferfish looks like a cartoon. Big eyes, a tiny mouth, a clumsy little body that blows up into a comical spiky balloon when it's scared. It's almost impossible to be afraid of, and it is, by a wide margin, the most poisonous fish in American water. Inside that round little body is a toxin called tetrodotoxin, and it is staggeringly lethal, more than 1,000 times deadlier than cyanide. A single pufferfish can carry enough of it to kill dozens of people, and there is no antidote. None. If enough of it gets into you, it slowly paralyzes your muscles while you stay fully awake until you can no longer breathe. Now, a pufferfish won't chase you, and it won't bite you to death. The danger is in eating it. In Japan, where the fish is a delicacy called fugu, only specially licensed chefs are allowed to prepare it, and people still die every year from one bad cut. And it happens here too. Americans have been hospitalized and have died after catching pufferfish off the coast and cooking them at home, not realizing what they'd brought to the table. The deadliest fish in the country isn't a monster. It's a balloon with big eyes that you should never, ever eat. The pufferfish takes number 3. 2. Stingray. So, if the deadliest fish is number 3, what could possibly rank higher? The 2 fish that actually hurt the most Americans year after year. And the first of them killed one of the most famous wildlife experts who ever lived. The stingray is not a predator. It doesn't hunt people, it has no teeth to fear, and it spends its life gliding over sandy bottoms, flapping like a slow underwater bird. And it injures more Americans every single year than every shark in the country combined. The reason is simple math. Stingrays love the same warm, shallow water where people wade, and they bury themselves in the sand right where you'd step. Tread on one, and it whips up a barbed, serrated spine on its tail and drives it into your foot or leg. The barb is coated in venom, and it leaves a ragged, agonizing wound that can punch straight through flesh. In Southern California, one stretch of beach is nicknamed for the rays, and lifeguards there treat hundreds of stingray injuries every summer. So many that they teach swimmers to do the stingray shuffle, sliding their feet through the sand to scare the rays off instead of stepping down on them. Usually a stingray injury means terrible pain and a trip to the lifeguard stand. But in 2006, a stingray defending itself drove its barb into the chest of Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter, and pierced his heart. It can happen. The gentle, harmless ray, in inches of water, hurts more people than any shark alive. The stingray takes number 2. 1. Catfish. Which leaves number 1. After the sharks, the poison, and the barb that killed a legend, the most dangerous fish in America is not exotic, not rare, and not scary to look at. It lives in nearly every lake, river, and farm pond in the country. You've baited a hook for it. You've pulled it out of the water. You have almost certainly eaten it. The most dangerous fish in the United States is the catfish. Not a shark, not the puffer fish. The whiskered, bottom-feeding fish on 1,000 dinner plates and 1,000,000 fishing trips. It sounds absurd until you understand how it gets people. It comes down to three things. First, the spines. Most catfish carry stiff, sharp spines at the front of their dorsal and side fins, and in many species, those spines are mildly venomous. Grab a catfish wrong, and millions of people grab catfish every year, and a spine drives into your hand, injecting a sting and leaving a deep puncture. Second, infection. That puncture, made by a fish that lives in mud and bacteria, turns into a serious infection more often than almost any other fishing wound, and some have cost people fingers, hands, or worse. Third, and strangest of all, the water itself. In the South, there's a tradition called noodling, where people catch giant flathead catfish by reaching bare-handed into underwater holes and letting the fish clamp onto their arm. A big flathead can weigh over 100 pounds, and more than one noodler has been pulled under and drowned by a fish that simply would not let go. No fish in the country is handled by more people, in more ways, more often. And that constant contact is exactly why the most ordinary fish in America, the one in your freezer right now, injures and infects more people than every shark, ray, and sea monster you just heard about. The most dangerous fish in America isn't the one with the sharpest teeth. It's the one you invited to dinner. The catfish takes number one.